There he is. Oh, one hook. I mean, feather hook. He's right here. Oh, Lord, in the tournament, this would make you so nervous. I want you to look at this. Oh, come on, little ot. And there it is, real time. The OG Mini, I've literally thrown it 6 times and caught a bass. So I don't know where you pre-order them, how you get in, whether you got to get an evangelist to order them for you. But I'd say you better start looking for them little fellas right there. I'm gonna call it Little Abby, but it's the OG Mini. You guys are familiar with the OG. It was a classic winning bait for ot. I jumped out here, it's winter time, same time of year. The pilot guy said, hey man, check out the new Mini ot. And I'm like, hey, let's throw it. I just caught one. Let's go home. No. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, another one. Another one. Oh, pretty good one too. He's got it pretty good, I think. This is a little Oman 7. This rod is 6'7". It's a little Oman 13 rod. Very, very light. It's a medium action, and you'll see why. A lot of times in the winter, when you're cold water cranking and it's 49, look at that, I mean, he's just barely hooked, so that's 10-pound line. And that's why you throw a light action rod. There it is. 6'7", 13 Oman. That's the tiny OG, and I'm telling you folks, so I have now made 8 casts and caught 2. How many you want to try to get yourself some? Ot, I love you. I love me some ot. Let's put him back. That's awesome, dude. And it's just, this is typical cold water cranking. You can see right here behind me, this is literally the muddy water flowing down. I don't know if you can see the bubbles, it's stained. And this is coming in a creek, and you see the big flat rocks here. So you got current, 49-degree water. Even though it's cold, people say, well, that water's cold and flowing. It pushes fish where you can catch them. They have no choice but to get here. They're not gonna fight that all the time. So what they do, they just come right in the first little current break, and they sit here. Now, there's levels of cranking that we're gonna try to go over for you guys today, from 3 foot down to 10 foot. So we're gonna try to cover that. These first bites, they were 3 foot deep. Wasn't nothing to it, you just come around there fishing, but let's just break it down even more. And I'm telling you, I cannot wait to get my hands on more of them. Send this message to ot. If you got any you can spare a brother, can you let a brother hold about 4 or 5 of them? Just hold them. You ain't got to give them to me, just let me hold them. You can see right here on 360, look at the rocks we're fishing. See the boulders? The main river is just right here. These giant boulders, they come in out of the current, tuck right in behind the rocks. They can float up top and get on the heat. It's a good spot. I don't know who picked this spot, but I like this guy. If you're fishing a tournament and you're going to a river or lake system, it doesn't matter, and you know that there's a lot of pressure there, a lot of guys fishing, and it's naturally springtime, so the fish ought to be a little bit shallow. Start with a flat bait. Start with something pretty finessey. You know they've already seen baits, they've already had looks, so start finessey and then work your way up. A lot of guys want to start big with bigger baits, work their way down. In the spring, I'm right opposite, man. I'm just going to start small and work my way up and see how big a bait I could catch them on, or does it matter if I get bites, could I swap over and catch bigger fish on a bigger bait? Flat sides, you can get by with not so perfect conditions. More calmer water, no clouds. You're literally just finessing them in the bite. It's just this reel's a 5/6 to 1, so I'm just kind of slow retrieving it. I'm not burning it. You know, as soon as I feel it bump something, I'll just kind of slow it down and drag it over just to try to change it up a little bit. Because a lot of times these fish will get up later in the day, they'll get up around the cracks of those rocks because they can feel the sun. They get up there and start warming, you know, for no other reason, just because they're cold. So you want to just try to get it around a rock and just kind of literally just coach the rod and finesse it around it, a little left, a little right. You know, a bait like this, when I'm fishing this shallow, you're doing a couple things in a retrieve, and one of the things that this bait offers is it doesn't rise super fast. So like if I bump it into a rock, it's sitting there, it just barely starts coming back up. Well, if that fish is 2 or 3 foot deep and it's not moving away from him very fast, he's much more tempted to bite it. So the rise on it is just as finessey as the wiggle in it, which is pretty important. If you bump a rock in 2 foot and the bait's super buoyant and it pops back up in cold water, that's not natural. He's not gonna pursue it up. He's gonna kind of sit and look at it it kind of sits just neutral, easing back up, you're gonna get bit. You're gonna get bit. That's what you're gonna do. You're gonna get bit with it. Especially this time of year, I put the boat in and I know they got a lot of boulders, they got a lot of current. I could be fishing eddies around the staging points. I'm gonna have a variety. I can have a wiggle wart, I can have the regular OG, I can have the tiny OG. I'm gonna mix in and incorporate a DT6, even try the DT10, and now we're getting ready to release the DT8, so I'm gonna be able to take a bait and work in between those depths. But a lot of days when I'm going to cranking, I'll have 4 or 5 different crankbaits out and run different levels. And you wanna apply them as you're moving down the bank. It's not always perfect for 3 foot, it's not always perfect for a 10-foot plug. So I just have the variety of baits laying there, and I kind of match it when I see it. Pick a bait up, throw it, even watercolor. I may have a red, I may have a softer crawfish color, I may have oranges. I'm just gonna kind of just mix it up because this time of year the conditions are changing, rain, current, so you'll have certain areas of the lake, no matter where you go, to be dirtier than others. So I just have a little variety pack. It's like buying Skittles. You know, you got to get all the colors to be successful. Got him, DT8 right off the gate. I like it, I think I'm gonna have to have one of these in my to-go box. Look at that, one hook. Once again, no, he got it sideways. The DT8, you wanted it, you got it. We done did what Burger King did. You said you want it your way, you get it your way right here, son. At Rapala, we aim to please. DT8, we had it in the 6 and the 10 and the 4, the 14 and the 16 and the 20, and you couldn't get enough of them. So we said, you know what, you want an 8, you get an 8, because that's how we roll. Same body style, didn't upsize the body. Body of a 6, bill of an 8. You know what I'm talking about? You know, like body like a back road. This is gonna be a bad dude. It enables you to get that extra 2 foot on these 45-degree banks. Wintertime, didn't have to upscale the body. Still a fairly like finesse bait this time of year. It's gonna be super productive. I think you're gonna see it be good like on shell bars on Gunnersville. Pickwick lakes that are not super clear. The guys are trying to touch the bottom 6 to 8 foot, keep the bait down. You know, a 6, I love a 6, but sometimes if I'm trying to hit one particular target, I've got to throw way past it, reel the bait pretty fast down to get it there, and then finesse it across it. This is going to enable me to make the long cast, get the bait to the bottom, slow it down, slow it down. So I'm going to get further distance on the bottom with this bait versus a 6. Could be fishing the same stuff. I just want more contact with the bottom. One of the things you can always look at when you go to a reservoir, you go to a lake, in the wintertime, we really get keen, and I'm guilty of it, thinking water temperature, what's the water temperature? Because it controls a lot of what the fish do. But when you have current, it kind of erases water temperature a lot. If you have current on the main river where there's usually not a lot of current, that fish will push himself up in position to just be out of the elements. He's already in a catching position, so temperature doesn't really matter as much as what it normally would mean. You can come down through there cranking, and it doesn't matter if it's 47, 49, they're biting because they're in position. So if you go somewhere and it has current, you can say, man, this water is cold. And you see somewhere that's got current coming out, remember current, it can really erase what the water temperature should have to be to get them to bite. They get in position, they're already in the position to ambush, like behind that rock right there, current's flowing over it. So if there was a largemouth sitting behind that rock, he's sitting there to be out of the current. All right, if you're sitting there to be out of the current, there's not a lot of pizza delivery stores coming by that rock. You see what I'm saying? There's not a lot of food flying by it. So when something comes by it, guess what? He bites. He doesn't wait for an opportunity. He bites when it comes by. He's not saying, hey, when I get hungry, I'll go out. No, he's sitting there by this one rock, and every time a minnow or a crawfish comes blowing by it, he will naturally bite it and then move back in position. That's his home till the current lays slack. He's gonna stay right there. You know, back in the day, the shad wrap was the OG flat bait. That's what everybody threw. You know, it had that very, very subtle action, but yet it caught every fish that came by when the conditions were tough. So as fishermen normally do, they learn to make things and do it in their basement. So you started seeing people develop that same type action as a shad wrap by making it heavier, shorter bill, longer bill, trying to create the same cold water shad action, but making it more caster friendly, this, that, and the other. So you see that, which is kind of what Ott done with the original OG, is he built a bait that had a cold water action specifically for what he needed. you know, and then we found out as soon as he got it out there, well, guess what, they don't just catch them when it's cold, it catches them everywhere. But like the tiny OG, he just went in and just shaved it down a little bit more. A lot of times when I'm cranking rock, I won't swap line size up as much as if I were cranking this in grass. You know, I could take a 6 in grass and manipulate the depth of the bait by the line. But when I'm cranking rock, I'm trying, in most baits I tie on, whether it's a 6, a 4, or the 8 or a 10, I'm trying to maximize that depth that the bait runs. So by doing that, I need to stay with a 10-pound or a 12-pound line, nothing any heavier, because I want the bait to be down in the water maximum depth. So rock situations, I don't heavy up the line very much. I stick with 10 or 12. There he is, good Lord. I mean, that DT8, I barely ticked the bottom with it. I mean, just barely. And I threw a good bit off the bank. I mean, I'm out like 6-8 feet off the bank, so I know it hit. It truly was hitting probably out there. That's a spotted bass, ain't it? Look at the colors on that. I don't know which one's prettier, my spotted bass or my Demon DT8. And the thing about that is, throwing off that bank like that, I just kind of keep chopping it out there. But the bill size on this is just stretched a little bit from a 6. So you see it. I didn't change. It's not a bigger body. So even spotted bass, smallmouth, I think is, to me, I'm gonna mix it up like more and more. I got my hands on them. I'm gonna throw it, find myself fishing it a lot more than I would a 6 sometimes. Could I have caught that fish on a DT6? Possibly. But I would have had to pull up closer, throw past that target, and crank it down under here. A DT8 is gonna allow me to stay on the bottom, longer distance, in the depth that I want at a slower pace, which to me, when the water's cold, that's what I'm looking for.